Oh, okay, everybody, gather around. I'm going to tell you a story. It's about chess. Welcome to chess, ladies and gentlemen. Man, I got you guys for sure. So I was looking online today, and I saw a game that was played a little bit earlier yesterday between Wesley So and Vladimir Kramnik. It was a really, really nice game. It was somewhat of a shorter game, but man, I'll tell you what, man, this game has a little bit more than some of the other games that I've shown, man. So it's nice. So all of my people coming from the Philippines, maraming salamat. All of my people that are coming up from Russia, I will say большое спасибо. And if you guys are ready to go, homie, like I'm ready to go. Let's take a look see what we got for this game, homie. We got a B3. Sometimes these can be kind of quiet, type of openings, kind of like setup type thing, but there's nothing quiet about this game. This ain't the Juco Pianissimo. We got E5, so we got bishop to B2 attacking this lonely looking pawn on E5. Like, what are you doing? Knight comes to C6. So this is all standard stuff up to this point. And we see a slight variation here. We do see knight to F3, and this is a straight up direct attack. Assault on your pawn, homie. You like, bro, I got 1 and 2. What you gonna do? That rhymed. I ain't even know that. Like, I just won that. Anyways, and so, generally we'll see like an E3 and like a bishop to B5 situation. But we don't see none of that right now. We do see the move E4, and one of the hopes that white is trying to do is they want you to kind of overextend your pawn so that way they can kind of chop it down a little bit later. We do see knight going to D4. We got knight to F6. We got the move E3. We kind of have to get our bishop out, homie. So even if you don't do bishop to B5 and you're like trying to knock down the protection of E5, we do kind of need our bishop to get somewhere. We got bishop to C5. We got the move to D3. We got pawn, or bishop takes D4. We got pawn taking D4. And then we do see the move D5. And we're just trying to keep things as solid as possible, in the center of the board. Also, something that's more subtle that black is maybe thinking about is this bishop does want to kind of get somewhat open because, fianchetto bishops, they do best on open diagonals. So, you're trying to create as best of a wall as you can. We do see pawn taking E4 and not pawn taking E4, which would allow at some point the pawn to push to D5 after a C4 situation. We do see knight taking back E4. And then we do see knight to D2. And one of the things that's kind of reminded me of a little bit is the Petrov's defense. And I was reading a little bit, and Kramnik is definitely a big proponent of the Petrov's defense. So this would definitely be a position that he was very comfortable with. We do see bishop to F5, another one of those Petrov's type moves. We got knight taking E4, bishop taking E4, and then we do see the move F3. And like I said, everything is really everything by this point. This is, we've seen all of this stuff before. So, we just, everything is everything, right? What? Castles? Like, I think you guys are looking at the same thing I'm looking at, bro. We got castles by black. And what's going on with this bishop right here, bro? Like, let me get my stuff hooked up. Come on, bro. With the fuzziness. Anyway, I'll just be fuzzy, man. Okay, it's good now. All right. You guys might be looking like, man, was this a mouse slip? Nah. It was actually one of the moves. It was kind of lower down on the list, but we giving the bishop up, son. Pawn takes E4. It gets crazier. I promise you, it keeps getting crazier. Queen goes to H4. If you sacrifice a piece, you got to go on an all-out attack as soon as you do that, bro. So that is why we see queen to H4. We got king up to D2. Might look a little bit scary, but that was definitely one of the best moves that you can make in the position. We got queen to F4 for check, and then we have king to C3. Like, the biggest thing that I looked at when I saw this position was, like, usually you want to get your pieces pretty far advanced, kind of maybe in black's camp, but you're not talking about the king. The king is the most advanced piece that white has on the board. Like, nah. Like, the king is not supposed to be up here, like, in front of all the other troops. Like, you got to get your other pieces out there, bro. We do see pawn taking E4. We got bishop down to C1. We really are trying to get black's pieces out of our kitchen, because we do have our king. Look at the king. He's like, oh, I'm going to go over here. Like, the king is out there, bro. You got to do something, man. So we do actually see the move E3. And this is just blocking down this bishop to this queen. Also, it does open up the attack on this pawn right here. So you guys saw in the thumbnail, it is attacked twice and defended twice, you definitely can have a rook maybe swinging over and getting this a little bit more. So we have actually reached a position. If you do want to pause the video, there is an absolutely #1 move that white can try to make in this position. If you want to try to guess that move, go ahead and do so. Okay. The craziest thing about this move is the fact that it's like the most like fundamental, basic developing move that you can possibly ever do. But it is a really, really hard move to find in this specific position. The move that I am looking for is bishop to c4. Just a simple bishop to c4. That's it. Just it's like super calm and quiet. And the thing, like I said before, you know, you are looking at a lot of things if you're white in this position. You're looking at the fact that your pawn is hit like a million times. You're looking at the fact this rook is not being used in the corner. This bishop, like, it's like you almost haven't developed anything, right? So you're thinking, and you got to try to get your king tucked away somewhere, right? You can't just leave it on c3. So there is a lot that you have to consider if you are white in this position. So we actually did not see bishop to c4 on the board. We did see the move king to b2, which seems somewhat natural. It's like, man, you got to get this king out. The problem is it does somewhat hang this pawn just a little bit. And we do see the taking advantage of knight taking d4, immediately just grabbing the material. This was actually a really, really important pawn for you not to lose. So what was the alternative? Like I said, bishop to c4 is definitely the move in the position. And this is the way you really kind of had to play. You knew that a rook was going to be coming attacking your pawn. This does clear you out and get you the ability to like get your bishop in the game and get your rook in the game. With rook to f1. The queen will probably slide over here, and then you would be looking at queen to f3. And the major benefit that you have is the fact that you are attacking f7 so hard. So, I mean, the crazy thing is, like I said, you're being attacked every which kind of way. It's really kind of hard for you to say, hey, man, I'm going to attack f7. In spite of all of that, you do have to allow this pawn to be dropped. But you actually do have some nice developing going on. And you actually can, at some point, go bishop to a3 and just kind of get your stuff out. But we do not see that. Like I said, we do see king down to b2. We got knight taking d4. We do see bishop to d3, which might kind of seem like, hey, man, it's holding a little something, something. I mean, you know, the problem is, I mean, also, you do have this knight that got a little bit more centrally located for black. And it's really kind of more in your kitchen, man. And it's just causing too many problems, bro. So we do see rook a to d8. Always a logical thing to try to put a rook opposite, you know, a queen or a king. It can never be bad. We do see rook over to e1, and then we do see rook f to e8. And like I said, the crazy thing about it is, in this game, it seems like, man, black gave up an entire piece, so they shouldn't be better than me. But I reiterate, this rook is like literally never being used in the corner of the board. So it's almost like you're looking at these 4 pieces, like play against these 4 pieces in this specific position. So that is something that you want to be calculating in your own games. Like when you're thinking about sacrificing a piece, if your opponent can bring all of their pieces into the action and defend their position, they're literally just going to be a piece up. So you got to be careful with these sacrifices. We do see the move king down to b1, and it kind of seems like, man, you know, I'm starting to get like my king back into safety. Like I got to try to do something about this rook over here. But we do see the very, very accurate queen to f2. And then we see bishop to b2. And it might kind of seem like, hey, man, I finally got my bishop hooked up. I mean, everything is protected. I mean, I got c2 protected, right? I mean, no. You absolutely do not have c2 protected. And I know this move looks really, really weird probably to some of you guys. And you're like, man, how can this even be possible? It's actually an untouchable knight. It's not even a knight that you can even capture. Because how do you capture it, right? You obviously can't capture it with the king. If you capture it with the queen, you know, you're just dropping your rook over here. So that is not where you want to go either. You can't go with the bishop because then that just drops your queen with this rook. So you literally can't touch the knight at all. The problem is it's forking these 2 rooks. That's not, you're not living your best life if you white right now. Rook to e2. Oh, that saves everything, right? Like I'm counterattacking the queen. Now I can take the knight next move. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. We will get to that in a second. We actually see knight taking a1 in the position. And this does kind of give Wesley So just a little bit of hope if he finds a correct move, but he actually plays king takes a1, and this ends the game basically immediately. Rook takes d3, and it is in this position that Wesley So resigns the game. It might kind of seem like, all right, man, I got 3 pieces, you got 3 pieces, I'm about to win this rook back, right? Absolutely not. The major problem that you have in the position is the fact that your king is right here with this bishop, and it's one of those situations where the bishop has to throw itself away. You're going to have to absolutely take this rook. If you go any further in the game, you're going to absolutely have to take this rook. You know, queen takes d3. The problem is now you have queen to f1 with check, and how do you block this check? I mean, you can't block with the rook. It's just gone. You can't block with the queen right here. You have to block here, but if you go there, you're dropping your rook. And so the way that the computer is like, hey, bro, you need to play this way because there's a specific reason why. Bishop has to go down to c1 and block. This is the only way that you can survive this and not drop your rook. You have to deflect the queen away from the rook. And after queen goes to c1 with check, you would see queen to b1. The problem that you have in this position right here is the fact that once these queens are traded off the board, you have an end game where you have 7 pawns for black and 4 pawns for white. And there is just absolutely nothing you can do in that scenario. These pawns are going to be rolling. Literally, you could take your time and do it if you want to. You have a 4-2 pawn majority over here, and it's just not something that you're going to be able to hold, especially against the former world champion. So you guys might be thinking, so when we had this position here, after knight took a1, was there anything that maybe Wesley So could have done in this situation? Because it's not that lost in this position. It's like -1. So it's like, isn't it something that you can kind of hold? Yeah, but you have to see a lot, man. You almost kind of have to be a computer. In this position, rook would have to take f2. You got pawn taking f2, and then you have to see queen to f3, which really seems like it's holding everything. Like, you absolutely have to not take that knight in the corner yet. You have to just leave it sitting there. So this is like the most immortal, untouchable knight that I've ever seen in my entire life. And it's really, really crazy. You're in this position right here. Like, so this is like really kind of saving you. Like, the major thing you have to be paying attention to is that f1 square is completely held because that is the queening square of this pawn. If, let's say, for example, you saw something like rook to e1 and that's checking you and stuff like that. Okay. The problem is in this position, you'd see rook taking d3. And you really don't want to take that rook over here because you would be looking at rook to e1 with check, and that would be promoting that pawn, and then you're going to be down on a bunch of material. So you would be taking queen takes f2. So like I said, there's so many different moves that you're going to be having to think about and calculate in this position that you have to, like, you know, go this route. So the rook is going to be coming down to d1, and then you do block with bishop to c1, but then you see rook e to e1, and after king takes e1, rook takes c1 with check. The king slides up to b2. This is something that is possible to hold, but you are playing down a little bit of material. You got 2 rooks against your queen, and you have 6 pawns against 4 pawns. And I mean, with really, really good in-game players like Vladimir Kramnik it's really, really kind of hard to hold this type of a game. But it is not impossible. This was the only way that Wesley So could have played the position, and not going immediately with taking that knight on a1. But as you guys saw in this game, I mean, everything that Wesley So did was a very human way to play it. But, I mean, bishop to c4, going back to what we saw before. Bishop going to c4. I mean, Wesley So was actually winning this game for quite a while. You know, and it's just one of those situations where you kind of go on a gambit. You know, you kind of start throwing pieces away. And you're really hoping that your opponent makes a mistake somewhere and doesn't defend perfectly correctly, which doesn't always happen. So don't play risky like that. But that is that game. I appreciate everybody very much for stopping by. I think this game was crazy exciting. It was really insane. I mean, because, you know, Vladimir Kramnik kind of went all in and he was rewarded. But if Wesley So had found, you know, what he needed to find, I mean, he definitely would have made Kramnik pay for what he did. Salamat, Bolshoye Spasiba, and I'm going to see you guys next time.